How is it that you stumbled into my caverns of the abyss? I am ancient. I am forever. And I have been chained down here for millennia. I am the Shadow Dweller, here to keep you company until the abyss swallows you whole. I've been here for eons and collected stories. I will tell you a tale to pass the time. Short stories of horror, tiny tales of the creepy. I will show you by the end you'll be screaming with madness. Morbid Morsals is a new chapter of terror. A short tale of madness to, let's just say, carry your tremendous suffering over to the longer, fuller episodes. Your torment and endless suffering has helped me go stronger. To reunite my brothers once again, to open the portal from here, the nether realm, to your world, to unleash darkness and chaos upon all mankind. We have grown stronger by passing these tales of madness on to you. Not only will we feast on your souls, but we will unleash hell on earth. We'll be seeking new, unfortunate souls to torment. New chapters of fear, tales of the unbelievable, and more skin-peeling episodes. Remember, your dark thoughts lead you to me. I won't have to find you. It will be you that seeks me out.
Hi, I'm Troy Bursch, creator and producer of the short horror story audio podcast Into the Abyss with Morbid Morsals. I'm happy to say that Into the Abyss podcast and Morbid Morsals is 2 years old. So thank you for everybody that's listened and continuing listening. Much love for the downloads, and I appreciate everybody listening. I started this podcast about 2 years ago. I turned 50, and I was like, you know what? What the hell? Why not? I've always liked writing short horror stories ever since elementary school, probably till up into my college years. Like writing creepy stories, Tales from the Crypt type stories, meeting Twilight Zone. So yeah, I wasn't really expecting my podcast to go anywhere, or for anybody to even hear it, but fortunately it's getting out there. And keep spreading the love, keep sharing the show. The more people I can get out there to, the more people that you guys can pass it on to, and then they can pass it on to somebody. So I love doing them. So Into the Abyss podcasts, they're like horror stories, of course, and Shadow Dweller, he's like your host of the show, introduces the different stories that I do. So he's a character, he's a hooded cloak figure with glowing red eyes that he was from the 3rd to 5th century BCE, an ancient druid. So back then, him and his cult, the Seekers of Darkness, are basically trying to open a portal from hell, the netherworld, whatever, to our world to enslave us and take over. So then these other priests, they know that they're up to no good, and they have ancient holy relics as well to battle them. And at the end of that episode, which is episode 4, Origins of the Shadow Dweller, basically they get sucked into the in-between, and basically the Shadow Dweller tells stories as he collects souls to get stronger to get out of there. So, I'm into season 2 right now, which is pretty good. So Into the Abyss is a little longer. They took a little more to plan out, more dialogue, more storyline, special effects and music. Morbid Morsals are basically the same thing, whereas Morbid Morsals is pretty much shortened versions of the Into the Abyss. The intro's not as drawn out. The ending isn't as drawn out. Not a lot of special effects. Not a lot of music or characters. Could just be a narrator doing dialogue with bare minimum special effects and music to carry you through the story. And also, I figured the longer ones were taking me longer to put out. So if I was going to try to put out at least 2 a month, then I figured I'd do a shorter version to keep people, interested in the show between episodes. So, that's what that's about. So basically the way the process goes is I come up with an idea, write a rough draft, maybe a couple of character outlines and backgrounds for them, what kind of sound effects I'm going to be using, what kind of music I'm looking for. So it's a whole different process than doing a regular podcast when you're interviewing people and stuff like that. Still a lot of hard work goes into it, a lot of time and effort. This is, same thing, a lot of time and effort. I got to pick the music out, I have to change dialogue where it's, doesn't sound wonky, and, the stories I write are kind of quick to the point. You got a beginning, middle, and end. Something happens, you're introduced to the characters, they have a dilemma, and something fucks them up in the end. Or they get their just desserts for, whatever they did wrong on somebody, and it comes back on them tenfold, karma. So I'm a big fan of like Freddy's Nightmares, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, all those, 80s horror shows I grew up on. Love horror. Couldn't get enough of it. Like I said, I used to write all these little stories and stuff when I was in school and stuff, then I just stopped, and then I, came up with the podcast, and so far it's really cool because it's got 136 cities that it's reached, and it's in 12 countries that people have listened to it. So again, it's awesome to know that people are listening to something that's, I'm making up or creating, which is pretty cool. Another thing about the Shadow Dweller is he's kind of snarky, kind of a smart ass in the first, episodes of Into the Abyss. He would always say something smart, kind of like the Crypt Keeper would, like, well, I guess they got what they deserved, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and kind of has a sadistic type of personality. So, another concept about him is that when he was in the caverns of the abyss, people would not physically go there, but mentally have bad thoughts, or, about being a dickhead or an asshole, or, killing your best friend or something weird like that. So all those dark thoughts basically bring you to him, and he tells you a story. Then once you're dead and gone and the abyss swallows you, he tries to get stronger to get out of the dimension that he's in. And it's not just specific horror that I like to do as well. I kind of like to do what the fucks, or maybe supernatural. I've done zombies in the Wild West with cowboys. I've done one about Smarty Pants, where a janitor's kind of dim-witted and then he goes out to smoke a cigarette. He gets hit by a beam of light, then absorbs all this information, becomes the smartest man alive, to have aliens snatch it back, and then he's back to his mild man himself. So I got lots and lots of stories in mind that I'd like to do between science fiction. I got body horror, I got serial killers, monsters, creatures. So it's the stuff that I like to enjoy in writing, and producing. And, it started off as a hobby, so now I'm trying to get more episodes out there in the vault. That way I can just release them at any time I want to and try to, keep like my quota 2 a month. When I started this podcast, I was listening to a lot of other podcasts, but they were mostly topics they were discussing, interviewing other witnesses and stuff like that. So I didn't really get into a lot of, I like audio books, but they're doing different character voices and no sound effects, no music. Audio dramas, I've listened to some good ones, which started making me think that I could do this because I have, thought I have a creative ear for, what could I make disgusting sound here? Or, to kind of mentally bring you into the story with not just, somebody just reading the narration. So that's another cool, aspect that I like to dig into is figure out, how to put it in. And, another thing is, it's about timing. When you're editing and putting the sound in, if anything's off by a little bit, which can happen, it can mess up your whole audio track, and you have to kind of tweak it a little bit so it fits in. So you don't want to have somebody driving a car down the road and then like a toilet flush or something like that. So it's kind of hard to keep everything, in check and balances. Another thing is I don't have a big fancy studio. I don't have expensive mics or equipment. I use my phone. I use a bunch of phone apps to edit it. I use AI to help me come up with different character voices, so I'm not just doing my voice 10 other times and telling the story, which is how I started, which is still cool. But with the help of AI like that, it really can push your story that much further and that much cooler. If you guys out there ever have any ideas or, thoughts for stories that you would like to hear, hit me up on my socials, drop me a line or something like that, get in touch with me, something that you'd like to hear, maybe something I haven't thought of, and I, might add it to the collection.
Hello, my friends. How are you enjoying your stay in my caverns of the abyss? I hope you are enjoying Into the Abyss podcast and Morbid Morsals. These stories are tales to die for. I've been trapped in the in-between for millennia, and I need to collect souls to get stronger, to break free of the nether realm, escape this, and become a god. I've known Troy for quite some time. You can say we're close. But seriously, without him, none of this would be possible. So we'd like to both thank you for listening to Into the Abyss and Morbid Morsals podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Be sure to check out all the social media for Into the Abyss podcast. If you know anybody who likes horror stories or creepy tales, then this is the show for you. You will be screaming for madness at the end. Get this show out there to as many people as you can. Open their eyes to this. They too will like it. So thank you for listening, downloading, and talking about this show. I hope to get more followers, more listeners, and to make this show as big as possible. So until then, my friends, this is the Shadow Dweller, waiting to taste your fear. And I just wanted to wish Into the Abyss podcast and Morbid Morsals happy birthday. 2 years down, many more to come.
Into the Abyss has been a Darkshogun production in association with Twisted Souls Media. Hi, I'm Troy Bursch, creator and producer of the short horror story audio podcast Into the Abyss. If you like what you're hearing so far, please consider leaving me a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. This helps get my show out there to listeners just like you. Also, like, subscribe, download, and hit the notification bell. That way you'll get a heads up every time a new episode drops. Thanks to everyone who listened so far, and I'll have my information in the show notes. I have the Q&A feature on Spotify as well. Drop me a comment or ask a question and I'll definitely respond. Thanks again for listening and downloading. Keep sharing the show, either through social media or with your friends or family. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/theshadowdweller73. This is a one-time donation and will be greatly appreciated. Any donations that I receive will go directly to the show, better equipment, and to put out the best product out there for you guys to enjoy. So that's buymeacoffee.com/theshadowdweller73. And anything helps. Thanks, guys. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Facebook is into_the_abyss_podcast. Instagram is into_the_abyss_podcast. Be sure to check out DJ Trillim tracks. These are most of the songs that I make up to put in the show's outros. These are sick, dope beats to keep your heads ringing.